Hello, everyone. This is another episode of Fire Breathing Rob. That is FireBreathinRob. Figured we'd change up the name from Conversations with Rob to spicing it up a little bit. So you can go to youtube.com/FireBreathin Rob, and also access all of our videos. And please share them. We have a lot of people from all different backgrounds, whether it's lifestyle issues, politics, sports, that are really sharing a lot of great stories, and we'd love to get those out instead of just kind of the same old nonsense that's on the mainstream media. We're trying to get some new stuff out there. I have Lorri Craig on, and she is going to talk about financial, emotional, and other issues to deal with the coronavirus, COV-19 issues. Lorri, thanks so much for coming on the show. We greatly appreciate having you.
Bob, thank you so much for having me.
All right, Lorri, so let's talk about this. You said before we started the program that you are self-quarantined. Now, is that by a doctor? Is that just like everybody, like for instance, me, I'm just staying in to make sure that I don't catch anything of what's going on out there?
It's like you. I'm self-quarantined. Okay. It's not by a doctor. I don't have any symptoms. As this whole thing escalated, we were actually traveling cross country.
Wow.
And everything kind of deteriorated as far as being able to get food. And so we ended up traveling from Oregon, and now I'm in Wisconsin, and staying here in a lovely farmhouse bed and breakfast until we deem that it's safe to travel back home.
Now, how is the bed and breakfast, the people that work there or own the bed and breakfast, been to you? Because obviously, you know, as they know, and you know yourself too, staying there, you don't know when it's going to be safe to travel. We get into the other topics, you know, traveling from Oregon to Wisconsin, and obviously in the middle of this pandemic. How were the roads? Because I'm in Florida, in the Orlando area. We drove up to Disney World, me and a friend, and we were looking at, you know, how it looks worse than I was down here. I was extremely young at the time, but during 9/11, and I look at how, you know, it was back then when nobody was traveling. I was at Disney just driving through. It was literally like 2 cars on the road that we've seen throughout driving through Disney. And that has never happened, 0 times. So how was the drive from Oregon to Wisconsin? Was there a lot of people driving? Was it pretty, you know, a quick trip for you so far to get to that point in your trip?
Well, there were a gazillion trucks. I just want to say that those truckers are awesome. They're working, they're getting supplies across the country. That was what we found for most of the traffic. Not a lot of personal vehicles like our own. We were just nervous, you know, as they shut down the availability of food, that we were concerned they would shut down gas stations. So every 50 miles we were filling up to make sure we could get the rest of the way.
No, I hear you. You got to be careful. And it's scary out there. But let's move on to the crisis of what's going on. I know you've been traveling, but I'm sure you've been, you know, listening to on the radio or on the news in general when you've stopped about the congressional bill. We saw that it was passed last night with the $2 trillion bill. As a person that is a certified financial planner and knows a lot about finances and money in general, how do you feel like Congress and the president have reacted toward this crisis?
Well, I don't want to be critical during this time. I would have liked to have seen things happen faster.
Agreed.
I want to refer back to the 2008 and 9 financial crisis that we went through. And I was in communication with our state senator, and I just kept saying, do it now. I don't care what it looks like, just do it now. The country needs help, you know, as quickly as possible. And that's how I feel this time. It's like the country needed help as quickly as possible. But also know we learned some things from the TARP that was put through in 2008 and 9. And one was that it didn't have oversight built into it,
Right.
and monies went to like big banks, and
Right.
we all know what that history looks like. And I do have to say that now, please understand, I'm an independent, so I don't take
Yeah, no,
political
yeah. That's
sides.
fair.
But I was glad to see that the Democrats wanted to have some kind of oversight placed into that
Right.
bill. So that was a good thing.
Uh,
Yeah,
No, go
so
ahead.
it's great that it's passed, and the market was happy this morning and popped up.
Right.
So
Yeah, you were
it's good.
just saying that the market, that's where leads me right into the next question. So we did see after that pass, the market went up to 600 points after that stimulus package was passed. You kind of touched on it a little bit in the last topic. You feel like that's a big step in the right direction for people that lost a lot of money in the stock market so far, but it just keep dropping as much as it did throughout this crisis, and it jumping up 600 points. Do you feel like that's a step in the right direction right now?
Well, of course, but understand the market is going to be very volatile. The news coming out every day is going to affect it. Up, down, up, down. It's just going to be volatile. And we don't only have this particular episode to get through, but there will be echo episodes of this. So we have to be aware of that. I know a lot of people, I've heard a lot of people say, well, this is a really great opportunity to get into the market. But I would hate to see anybody take dollars that are important for them to survive
Mhm.
and throw that in the market hoping to get, a quick return on their investment.
Well, a person that knows so much about economic issues, financial issues, such as yourself, the thing that I don't understand, and I understand, as you said, the economy's really, in shambles right now. We know the market went up as far as that goes, but we're still not in a good place. We heard by Steve Mnuchin, the Treasury Secretary, a couple of days back that it could be 20% unemployment. Now we're looking at, somebody came out yesterday from the Trump administration, said it could be as high as 30%. With that being said, though, shouldn't we be more worried? And this isn't to get political, and I'm not trying to put you in that type of spot, but we hear all the time on the news that people are more worried about the economy, quite a few people, I should say, than about the health of people. Because my thing is, a lot of people my age may have this, they may give it to somebody that's older than them, which will basically kill that person or could kill that person, which is scary. If we get into an issue where we're more worried about opening things back up instead of the health of the country, this pandemic will just keep going on for multiple months, more than it has now. And it's going to even crush the economy even worse down the road. So what would you say to somebody that says, right now we have to say, screw the economy. We need to get the health of our country back in check. And then we can worry about what's going to happen, whether it's a depression or a recession down the road. We need to fix the health of our country first.
So lives are more important than money.
Right.
We have been for decades in an economy that's, I call it a balance sheet economy. It's where you think that money and profits are more important than anything else. And as millennials are coming on the scene, they're criticizing this kind of thinking. They're like, well, no, we want to live more simply. We want to make choices that are better for the world. And there is a kind of investing, a socially responsible investing, so that you can invest in companies that think beyond the balance sheet. They think about our environment. They think about, how companies are governed. Is there equality within the companies? Are they, so it's called ESG. It's environment, social, and governance. It's caring about people. And global economy has just gone way out on a limb of thinking about dollars being more important than people. This is a really important time, I think, where we start thinking about people first. And it's, it's an energy that millennials can give to all of this.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I'm in an area as far as Orlando and Florida in general. It's a big tourism state. It's going to really get hit, and it's already gotten hit in plain English extremely hard by this crisis. We look at Orlando, as I spoke about, Disney, Universal, they have SeaWorld, all those amusement parks, also all the hotels and the people that work at those hotels are out of work right now. We look at teachers in a big state as such as ours too, as around the country out of work too. What would you say to people that, work mainly in those kind of industries where they're making maybe 10, 12, maybe $15 an hour, which is not extremely a lot for a family of 4, and they're out of work right now. Now, Disney said that they would pay their workers for 2 weeks after it closed, but between us, we know that this is going to take more than 2 weeks to get over. So I'm not sure what's going to happen after that. So for people that aren't really financially, it wouldn't be the right word to say successful, but don't have a lot of finances right now and are just kind of making ends meet, what would you tell them to maybe extend that money that they have, so they can afford food and other supplies, toiletries, if they need medical supplies too?
So 60% of the country lives paycheck to paycheck.
Right.
So those folks are really frightened right now. I have a lot of family and friends that live in Maui, and that island depends on tourism to a great extent. And people found themselves out of a job in 24 hours after this all came out. So the first thing that you do, let me share. When we talk about financial planning, we're looking at fixing things in the past and preparing, against risks in the future. I would like everybody to think about pulling themselves into the present. That will reduce your stress, first of all, and then take a look at your spending and think about the important thing is getting enough food in your mouth and a shelter. That's your priority. And take a look at every dollar that you spend, like at the grocery store, buy the cheapest, most nourishing foods that you can. Forget the Twinkies and the chips and the beer and wine. I mean, we need a little beer and wine here, but cheap beer and wine. Pull back on those things. There may be, apps that are streaming media. Maybe you've got Netflix and Hulu and all of these different things. And there are actually some free apps that are out there that you can replace that with. Take a look at your phone bill, call the cell phone companies and see if you can negotiate with them. If you owe on your credit cards, call those credit card companies right away and start negotiating with them. And be very polite and very kind in those negotiations. And you'd be surprised. Sometimes they'll give you a month or 2 of reprieve. They may pull your interest rate down. They may say, okay, you can make a minimum payment here. There's just lots of things that you can do. And also communities have lots of support. So go to 211.org and take a look at, you put in where you're located and see what the resources are. Don't be embarrassed to go to the food bank. There's all kinds of support that these nonprofits provide. And also with this money that's just been voted, it's going to start flowing through social services. So every day they just need to keep checking on what's available and use it. And definitely the underemployment, you saw that in 2008 and 9. People were just taking anything that they could find. And that is one thing that's possible here, is transferring, you know, what you have been doing for employment and doing something else, like delivering food. There are opportunities, and I would encourage people to not get too depressed. They can't see that there are other opportunities, and you have to get from here to there. And you just have to put your ego down and
Right.
you know, be concerned about how you're going to feed your family and feed yourself and all of that, and still stay safe too.
Right. I want to ask you this question. I'm not sure if you have an opinion on this or not, but it kind of gets to the, you know, about millennials and how they feel. I have a lot of friends that say, you know, especially right now, they say, oh, all these people say, and a lot of them are Tulsi Gabbard supporters, Bernie Sanders supporters, and they run out and say, all these people, you know, cracking on socialism, but now they want to give money to the airline industry, to all these big corporations, and nobody says anything about that. But when we talk about universal health care, which every other major industrialized nation has, a jobs guarantee so everybody can have a job, they say how you're going to pay for it, but nobody says how we're going to pay for this now. What would you say to something like that?
Well, so my opinion's going to show here. And by the way, I have an opinion on everything.
I know, but I know you weren't trying to get too far into politics. So I didn't want to push your buttons too much. Go ahead.
So I'm a huge Margaret Mead fan, and she's studied all kinds of different, you know, tribal societies and that sort of thing. And if you look at tribal society, everybody cared about everybody else. And it's only as we get bigger and bigger and develop these big cities and everything, we start caring less about each other. So I feel very strongly about healthcare for everybody. If you look at the numbers, you compare Canada to US. Yesterday morning, it was like 43,000 people had been identified, and by the end of the day, it was like 52,000 with the virus.
Right.
And I'm thinking about all these people. And then I looked at the Canada numbers, and it was ridiculously less. And I'm thinking, look at them. They have health care for everybody. No, it's not perfect. It's not a perfect delivery system. And I also want to mention that my son is an emergency room physician.
Oh,
And
okay.
he feels very strongly about health care for everybody. Even though it means that he would get less money, at least everybody would have health care. And I think this pandemic is just showing how important it is to have health care for everybody.
Right. No, I agree. You know, like you said, the pandemic is showing that firsthand. And a lot of people aren't saying that. We do have a lot of Sanders supporters. That's why I brought that question up. And my thing is to the Sanders campaign is they should be out touting that message every day about how we need that, whether you like the person or not. The Democratic Party should be saying that, but unfortunately they're not. But that's another story for another day. So I wanted to bring that up. I want to move on to this. We talk about emotions running wild right now. You are in a bed and breakfast. You don't know how long you're going to stay there for. I am a teacher. I am stuck in a house. I've been stuck in a house for, 2 weeks. Like I said, my enjoyment is going out like once a day for a ride. That we're all kind of stuck in the house and really abiding by the doctors and the medical people on the ground. How should we kind of deal with that as far as emotions go? Because it's hard, as you probably know also.
Absolutely. Well, there's all kinds of self-care. You can, it's important to have positive self-talk throughout the day. Look at the things that, you know, you're grateful for. You don't have the virus. You're, you know, a healthy person. You know, there are people that are going into the hospitals with this virus. They're being secluded and they're separated from the thing is they're dying without family around them. So look at where you're at versus other people. So that should help make you feel better. Lots of self-care things. You know, I'm sipping warm things during the day. I'm taking long soaky baths. I'm doing meditation. I'm doing yoga by YouTube. There are just so many things that you can, reading, we are reading some, I want to say enlightening kind of things. And there's, you know, all these times that you may have told yourself, like, I don't have time to do that. I don't have time to do this. Hey, guess what? You know, you can organize those icons on your phone and on your computer. And there's like lots of things that you can do, you know, make fresh food. Like yesterday, I made some immune soup that we could sip on, and some homemade bread. And, you know, there are lots of things that you can do to keep busy. But I agree, I'm getting a little stir crazy myself, even though I'm in this awesome situation. We're still like, you want out. But at least we don't have little ones running around making us crazy.
I've been taking advantage of going outside doing yard work in this beautiful weather, so
nice.
I'm thankful for that. I want to do this, and I'd love to know this. I know you said your son works as an emergency room physician. How, you know, we should be thankful to just get into this firstly for all the physicians, all the people working in the emergency rooms, doctors, even regular people that are just checking these people in. They could get the virus, and that's really worrisome. So thank you to your son and all the, you know, medical professionals working right now. How is he doing? And also, if you'd love to say, what part of the country is he working in?
He is in Denver, and he works at several ER hospitals. Okay. So I can't just say one hospital. No, I haven't talked to him yet today, but they were supposed to run out of face masks yesterday. Jeez. And they were trying to consider how to, you know, reuse the face masks that they had. He's very concerned. He's got a little 3-year-old. So he's very exposed and going home to his wife and daughter. He is also in charge of ultrasound. So he got hammered like that. He had been on a 5-day ski trip with other ER doctors, and he came back. He's in charge of ultrasound for all the hospitals, and they wanted to know protocols for how to keep the ultrasound wand sterile. He's talking about people coming in that have the virus, and they walk them down the hall, and there's a loud announcement that comes out and it says code 51, code 51. So everybody gets out of the hallway so that they aren't exposed to this person that has a virus. And then they're put into a secluded area. It's called Area 51. They're keeping their humor. And then they, you know, take care of them from there. So in his particular situation, he wasn't working directly with the virus folks. And he said, and this is like 3 days ago, so this is kind of old news. He was seeing less patients in ER than usual because people were staying away, and only coming if they felt that they had the virus, and that was a separate line, a separate queue. I don't know what it looks like today. I'm sure that it's ramping up with a lot more people.
Right. Well, it's supposed to be the worst week. They said Dr. I forgot his name, the guy that's on the news all the time, Dr. Forio.
Sanjay Gupta? Or?
No, there's the doctor. He's with the administration. He's at the CDC. Fauci, yes. He said that this is going to be the worst week. So it's scary, and you must be deathly scared. It's not just for yourself and your family, but also for your son and his family. I mean, he's on the front lines, and it's scary. But what about him? Has he heard anything from the administration about an update on protective gear? Or?
No, what he told me is that that was somebody else's responsibility in the hospital. He was focusing
Right.
on what he needed to know to treat patients and that, and he had to let that responsibility go to another piece of the hospital. It was their job to get the equipment, so he wasn't really addressing that. He just said that at that point in time, what they were doing was they were trying to figure out how to reuse the equipment that they had.
Gosh, it's really disgraceful that this is going on, especially with the protective gear.
Yes.
This was known, this was told to the administration and people in Congress in January, and we're in March, and I feel like there's still people that aren't taking it seriously, and I don't know what's going on in this country, just my opinion, but it's really sad. I don't know what else to say, but this is Lorri Craig, a certified financial planner, and she was talking to us. Lorri, thanks so much. Where can people find more about you if they want to learn more about you?
They can go to my website. It is LorriAllisonCraig.com, and that's with 2 R's and 2 L's, LorriAllisonCraig.com.
All right, Lorri, thanks so much for coming on the program. Greatly appreciate your time. And tell your son to
Thank
stay
you.
safe also.
I will. Thank you so much.